I'm surprised you can't hear my dog going like just completely banana pants in the background, so it's fine.
Look, is that weird? I think that's weird that I'm like, oh, it's a new dog. I know it's a new dog and it's a cute dog. Can we see the dog? But like
yes,
that's
it's been our thing for the past like 3 or 4 episodes, us having the dogs like, now tell us about your dogs.
Yeah, my dog, she's a very good dog. She's a surprisingly good dog. She's still a new dog. We're still getting used to each other, but she's a very good dog. So
it takes some time with new dogs. I think we have one that is a tripod, so she came abused, right? We didn't have to do the abuse.
I'm sorry, it's not funny.
It's not funny. No, she's 3 legs, but I think it took like 2 years for her to come out of her shell, and now she's just the weirdest thing I've ever met. She does zoomies, just very like slapping on the floor. It's very funny. It's very cute. She's not in here today, which is different. She's usually podcast dog. Not today.
That's adorable. Right. We found out today that my dog is a water dog. We didn't previously know that, and so like, we figured out that if you like spray the hose, like she'll like chase the water around it. It's like the cutest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. We're like crying in the backyard about how cute my dog is. It was great.
I thought this water dog is like, it's always for some reason wet kind of dog.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. That's the problem that I realized was like, it's great because it gives her something to do, and I live in Georgia, so it's really hot.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, so I was like, oh, that's awesome. She'll have something to do. She's just been wet for like an entire day, and I was like, great, cool. This is great. My entire couch is just covered in like a little bit of mud. It's fine.
She's so cute though, right?
She is so cute though. She has this little silly furry face. I love her so much. I'm gonna cry about it. I'm like one of those people who just like cries about my dog now. Like I didn't think I was gonna be one of those people. I was gonna be like, oh, it's a dog, who cares? But like she'll put her like foot on, or her like head on my foot, and I'll just start crying. And I'll be like, she's so pure. I love this dog. My husband's like, can you please stop crying every time the dog is in the room? And I was like, no, I cannot. I'm sorry.
No. This is what you signed up for the day you said your vow.
It's just fine. I was just like, this is it. This is great. This is it. We're all in. It's fine.
No turning back.
We should probably talk about D&D though, right?
Eventually, yeah.
A new dog. Sometimes D&D, mostly dogs.
Mostly dogs.
One of the D's stands for dogs.
Yeah, exactly. Dogs and dungeons. I would watch that podcast where it's just Dungeons and Dragons, but there's puppies on the table. Oh. That idea is free. You're welcome.
We have 2 ideas people here now today.
This is great. I would watch that so hard though, just a Twitch stream where it's just like people playing D&D, but there's just puppies sometimes. Like, come on. The
puppies have to roll the balls like fur, so they just toss it out.
Yeah, they have to. The dogs have to roll the dice. Mm-hmm. This is $1 million idea. You guys, we gotta copyright this.
Yeah, we get in together with some of the local shelters, and then it's a whole event.
Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
honestly, no. I'm writing it on a post-it note. That's just such a good idea. Like, a one shot, like not like an all the time thing. This would be like, that's a lot of logistics, but like a sometimes street.
There's a sensor bar for when they start like randomly pooping and peeing everywhere. We just gotta get that ready.
You gotta have like a guy. Well, you'd have like a guy who like swoops in, like a stage manager.
This would be like a really good con event. Look.
Yeah, like a dog adoption event, but it's called like Dungeons and Dragons and Dogs. I just spelled dungeons. I don't even know how I came up with how to spell dungeons, but it's fine. I know what it's
I'm already impressed. I don't even have to
Dragons and dogs. Okay. Now that I've written that down, you guys want to make a podcast? This is going really well so far.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Dungeons and Degrees. My name's Adrian.
And I'm Alex.
And today we have a special guest. Special guest, introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Catieosaurus, but you can call me Kate. I am an ADHD educator, a neurodivergent advocate, and I play D&D on the internet for my real adult job for real adult money. So, hello.
All right. So I saw you on TikTok a bunch about like ADHD and taking fruit snacks, and that's how I kind of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
Not everybody sees those videos.
Adrian, do you take the fruit snacks or
Do you take the fruit snacks
ignore?
or do you leave the fruit snacks?
I do sometimes. It just depends on spoons.
That's valid. That's valid.
It's just
That's
like,
a valid thing.
maybe, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. That's interesting. Or maybe I'm like, I want to find the funny haha content with the petting of the dogs or like something like that.
It's valid.
I'm 100% on the leave the fruit snack. I don't know what that says about me as a person, but I never pick up the fruit snack.
That's all right. You stick around for the info. I appreciate that.
I do.
I'm a man of knowledge, okay? Like, I gotta know.
You gotta know.
But yeah, and some like D&D content, like showing off the stuff and just listening, and I was just like ADHD and D&D. I'm like, where have I heard this from before? Because of Skylar. I've heard it because of Skylar. And I'm like, why is this always coming up? Why is the ADHD D&D thing always coming up in like how to like essentially facilitate what you think about during a game and what you do? So I just stuck around and like, what do other people do that aren't me, who may or may not? I don't know. Alex thinks I'm definitely on something.
I don't think you're on anything. I just think your brain is wired the same as my brain. That's it.
Was there a question? I missed the question.
I was waiting to see if Alex was going to say something, but I was like, so the question is...
I got nervous. I was like, did I miss the question?
No.
I probably like zoned out. Because the thing is, if there's an awkward pause, I automatically assume that it's my fault because somebody asked me something, but I was like distracted. So it's your fine.
It's totally fine. No, I was about to ask the question, but I thought Alex was going to say something, and I was like, huh? And then all of us just looking like just standoff. We're just like, you go first. No, my question is, why did you decide to start like posting that content, or like for just
my
ADHD
content, or my like Dungeons and Dragons content?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
both.
Yeah.
Why not both? I mean, it's honestly kind of all part of the same story. I mean, I started posting on TikTok honestly completely by accident. At the beginning of the pandemic, I lost my job, and before I was a full-time content creator, I was the entertainment director at the Georgia Renaissance Festival. I was in charge of the entire thing except for the turkey legs, lawn care, and beer, basically. But prior to that, I was a stage manager, I was an actor, I was a director, and so like I've always been a theater kid. I've been a theater kid my entire life. And the pandemic hit, and my entire industry disappeared overnight for who knew how. It was going to be 2 weeks, and then it was a month, and then it was 2 months, and then it just kept going and going and going. And it's like, it's scary when your entire industry, everything that you have ever known, just disappears overnight. And so like, really and truly, the answer is like, I was bored. And so like, you go back and you watch like some of my like old like the first ones that I ever posted, they are garbage. Like, they are so bad. They're just like random like musical theater shit posts. Like, they're not good. But I was just kind of like figuring out the app. But one day I was on TikTok, and there was this trend at the time that was going around that was things in my blah 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 house that just make sense. And it was, people would post their like picture perfect magazine houses, and like the trend that started, the one that started off was like things in my Japanese house that just make sense. It was this American woman living in Japan. But I remember like watching those videos and just feeling so like alienated, or like just like I like my house was wrong and bad or whatever. And so like, kind of as a joke, just to like make fun of myself, like I made this video that was things in my ADHD house that just make sense. And I was like, this pile of boxes that's been in my hallway for 2 years, like, stuff like that. And it went viral. Like, it blew up. It was just my first really and truly viral video. And I remember like reading through the comments, and I kept seeing like the same type of comments over and over and over, which is, I've never seen anybody's house that looks like mine. I've never seen anybody else talk about like, that pile of stuff that's been on your floor for like 3 months because you keep forgetting that it exists. And so I was like, oh, well, maybe people want to hear me talk about ADHD. And so like slowly, like literally one person at a time, I started just sort of like building this community and building these like relationships with neurodivergent people on social media. And then at some point I said, also, I play D&D. I play Dungeons and Dragons. And people were like, what? But you have ADHD? Like, how do you play Dungeons and Dragons? And I was like, oh, well, I had to like adapt it. I had to like make the game work for me. Like I had to figure out, you know, my different systems. But at that point, I was like kind of solidly in like, I guess I'm a creator now, question mark. And so I was getting asked to play D&D with like, you know, different companies and like with different groups and different streamers. And so like posting it just kind of was part of everything, because it's D&D has been part of my life for a long time. And so that was a really long-winded answer to be like, I don't know, because I felt like talking about it one day, but there you go.
No, I love that answer. It was a good answer. How fast did you blow up? Like, did you have any struggle with like all this sudden attention, or because you've been like in theater, like having like the eye on you kind of thing?
It's funny that you say that, because really and truly, I actually called one of my old theater teachers a couple of months ago, because he had found out like all of this was happening, and he was like, "So, how's fame treating you?" And I was like, you know, I have 2 master's degrees in theater, and I've done a lifetime of theater training, but there is no point at theater training in any school or any conservatory that I've ever been in that like is the class that's like, and here's what to do if you get famous. Like that's never like a thing, right? And so it's been a really hard adjustment. It's been really hard. And I mean, I'm not like, and it's weird because like I'm not in it for the attention. Like I'm in it because I'm passionate about educating, and I love getting to teach people, and I love getting to teach like on my terms and like about things that I care about. But it's weird because people know what I look like, you know? And so it's like, you know, it's just weird. Like I'll be at Target and I'll be having like a really bad day and I look like hell, and I've, you know, got like a, you know, like right now I've got like, you know, 5-day-old shower hair, and you know, I'm wearing like pajama pants and a shirt that doesn't fit. And somebody's like, "I'm so sorry, are you Catieosaurus?" I'm like, "Not right now." You know, but it's like that kind of thing where it's just like, you start realizing that like your work has an impact on people. Mm-hmm. And like, you know, the type of work that I do, especially because I talk a lot about ADHD and like educate about like ADHD and sex and intimacy. A lot of times I'm the first person that people hear some of this like information from. And that I think leaves an impression on people. But it's weird, you know, like last weekend I went to a convention, and it's a convention where like people hang out and they party, and you know, like there's like people hanging out and doing stuff after like the convention part is over. And it was weird because it was like 4:30 in the morning, and I'm not too proud to say I was pretty drunk. Like I had a couple in me. You know, it's 4:30 in the morning. I'm just hanging out with my friends, and I'm just like having a good time. This guy comes up to me and he's like, "I'm so sorry to bother you, but are you Catieosaurus?" And I was like, it is 4:30 in the morning and I'm wasted, but like, all right, I guess we're doing this. You know, and so I had to do that like awkward like picture thing. And it was just like, and it just like really makes you like grateful, because it's like you get this like incredible opportunity to like meet people like on their level, like where they are. But you know, sometimes it's like funny when you're just like, and I have had an entire bottle of wine, but here we go.
You don't get to 4:30 in the morning without having something in you.
I know, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think I would expect anybody at 4:30 in the morning to be on their best whatever, either behavior or just it's too early. And God forbid I see 4:30. Okay, miss, I go to bed at 9 o'clock like clockwork.
I know. I was like, I went to bed at like 7:30 that night. Like I was like, it was a weird night. I don't usually do that. I'm not a party guy. I'm the same way. I'm like, I go to bed at like 10 and I'm like, you know, like falling asleep, you know, because it also takes me forever to fall asleep. So I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I feel like I'm in college again. This is ridiculous.
But honestly, as somebody who, I think I was on the TikTok when the early days of your content, and like thinking about myself in terms of being okay and being normal, like within the ADHD confine, your contact literally have made a huge difference in my life as somebody.
Really nice.
We're just bringing on all my like fangirl moments in the last couple episodes. It's fine.
We got to get some for Alex. I've been doing it all 2 years of this podcast. Alex got to get hers.
But especially when we when you talk about ADHD and intimacy, because at that moment I was feeling stressed out within my relationship. Like there's something wrong. And obviously it's coming from me, because I'm like, we're halfway in doing whatever. And I'm like thinking about listening to the possum scurry across the fence, like in our outside, or I'm like, I hear other sounds and I'm like completely removed from the situation. And thought that that was because I'm a terrible person, but
Yeah.
it's normal.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it's, I mean, thanks for telling me that. Like, it's really nice of you. But honestly, like, not to trivialize what you just said, but like, I mean, it's so common. Like, people tell me all the time, you are the first person to ever talk about like getting bored during sex. You're the first person that ever, told me about like this thing or that thing or the other thing. And I'm just like, well, cool, but like, why aren't more people talking about this? And so I love it. I love that I get to do that for people. But yeah, I mean, it absolutely came out of my own feeling broken and feeling like I wasn't enough and feeling like there was something like inherently wrong with me. And so like, honestly, like getting to do this work is just such an honor, because I get to tell that to other people. I get to be like, hey, just FYI, you're not weird. It just happens. Like, it's just, and that's like really gratifying, I think.
What's it called? I don't like, I think I'm trying to figure out, like, did I get anything? I'm like, from like those, the snack talks, sorry, brain's stupid. And I'm like, I don't know. I think I feel like I'm making sure I don't mess anything up when I listen. I'm like, maybe I do need to learn a little bit about like other people's behaviors, because as an individual who, I mean, it's not just about sex, because a lot of things are just communication things.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
oneself and others, and being able to kind of relay that properly, because I work in social work and I have to listen, and one of the things is like them coming to the doctor's office, and I'm just like, it's okay to feel the way you're feeling right now, because it's stressful for everyone to come here.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I see their the stress lines kind of alleviate a little bit on their forehead, and I'm just like, okay, that's what they needed to hear. And then I kind of keep doing the weird boring paperwork, but I felt like they're a little bit more relieved than they were like 2 seconds ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice when you get to do that. You know what I mean?
Yes. Every now and then I'll get people who come back and they're like, you made a difference. And I'm like, thanks. Because I can't take a compliment. And that's my one true bad thing in life. People are trying to fix that on me. I don't know if it'll ever happen. But we're trying.
Let me know if you figure out how, because I'll take some notes from you.
It's a lot of gritting my teeth and just saying yes.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's very important to get that kind of information, because nobody wants to talk about those, quote unquote, like icky personal things like, ew, sex, just keep that in the bedroom or whatever. I'm like, dude, like, to be able to openly communicate it with others will be able to assist and like openly communicate with your partner, being able to kind of practice that elsewhere than just the one time.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what it ultimately, I mean, and it's funny that you say that, because we actually talk about this a lot in when we're talking about D&D for like neurodivergent people. But being able to communicate effectively and articulate your needs is super duper important, just as a life skill.
Right.
But like it's funny like where those skills show up, because like for me, like I sort of like ride this like weird like line where, by day I'm a certified sex educator and I teach people about like ADHD and sex and intimacy and that kind of stuff. But by night I play TTRPGs like as part of my job, as part of, being Catieosaurus, whatever you want to call it. And I play a lot of them. I play at a lot of different tables with a lot of different people. And so one of the things that I really had to learn was to be able to do the things that I love, and to be able to like be comfortable at the table. I had to be able to advocate for myself, and I had to be able to sort of like internally like look at myself and say, okay, well, what do I need? Like how can I make this experience good? But what that turned into was learning how to also like fiercely advocate for others. And so what I always say is that sort of like communication begets communication, and advocacy begets advocacy. And so I think that when we're talking about, the difficulties or the challenges of communicating with a neurodivergency, what we're also talking about is learning how to support other people who may not be in the same place, like on the same journey as you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just like such a rad like gift, you know, like that's really cool to be able, like, as, you know, like as a DM or even as another player saying like, hey, you know, I think Adrian maybe needs a break, or hey, you know, I think Alex like maybe needs a refresh of like what we did last week. And so like, let's support them in those moments. And that's just like, that's really cool to be able to do that for people, I think.
Right. Yeah. So speaking of D&D, are you mostly a player or a GM?
Shut up. No, so my real, this is the truth. In my heart, in my soul, I am a GM. I love homebrew. I love telling stories. I have a weird amount of improv and like theater training, and so like I'm really good at it, but I hate doing it. I hate it. And that's the thing is like people are like, you're the best DM that I've ever like played with. This was amazing. And I'm like, thanks. I hated it the whole time. So I like playing. I much prefer playing to DMing, just because I think like I think it's an ADHD thing. I think it just really and truly comes down to the fact that like DMing is really challenging for me, whereas like being a player means that I can kind of like check out a little bit, you know, like have, you know, doodle during rounds of combat or whatever. But with the DM, you have to be constantly engaged. And for some people who are neurodivergent, that works really well. Like that's their system. But for me, I struggle. But I want to so bad. So I don't know. I'm not confident in my DM skills because I just know how disorganized and distracted I get.
So it's like takes a lot out of you, but from what the one example was like, you know, you're the best DM. People appreciate that, right?
I think so. I mean, I think I'm really good at like the you know, it was a dark and stormy night. Like I'm good at that part. Like I'm not good at like the combat stuff. But but like I'm also like a rule of cool DM where I'm just like, fuck it, like it'll look cool in the graphic novel, let's do it, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so that's kind of like how I like to play, but I also know that play style isn't for everybody. Like I tend to be real loosey-goosey about like combat rules and that kind of thing, because I'm just like, if we're all having fun, like for me it's much more about the story, it's much more about the role play, it's much more about like building, you know, like sort of memorable experiences with your party, and it's less about the mechanics. But I also know that there's some people who are like deeply into the mechanics, and I'm like, I respect that, but I can't play with you, I'm sorry.
But that's just not my fun, and I'll
it's
check
not my fun.
out. Yeah,
I'm like, if I don't get to give a dramatic monologue at least 3 times in a night, I'm not having any fun. So
And that's important because then you're advocating for your own play style as both a player and a GM. And because you know those things, you are then a better player at the table because you can identify everybody else's needs as well. So it's good. I agree with you. As a player and a DM, hate combat because I'm bored the entire time.
Yeah. And like, and so for me, I had a thought and then I completely lost it because I got excited about something else that you said. I was like, but for me, a big part of it is like figuring out ways to keep people engaged and like during combat. But a lot of that came from figuring out ways to keep myself engaged during combat. And so I have a lot of like tips and tricks in my toolbox that I share like when I'm going around, because I do I go around a lot of conventions and I educate about like neurodivergency in TTRPGs and like inclusivity in games, which is really cool. It's a very like cool sort of like side part of what I get to do, and so that's awesome. And I have a lot of fun doing it. But it's also great because people will just share experiences in the room, and so I've collected just so many like good ideas from people who are like, oh yeah, well my DM does this, and somebody else in the back is like, you know, well my DM does this, and I'm like, yes, give me all of your suggestions.
They're mine now.
Exactly.
This is going to be used for good.
So what are your, I guess, top 3, your favorite ones, or whatever comes to your brain first?
Oh my God. Okay. So the like 3 of the best ones that I've ever heard are, I mean, they're all kind of fundamentally the same thing, but they're just like different ways of doing it. But it's basically finding ways to keep your players engaged during round of combat in a way that is supporting the party, but plays to their strengths. So like 3 really good suggestions that I've had is like give them like a codex and some kind of like scroll or like message that's been like intercepted, and like somebody has to like break the code so they can sit there and sort of like puzzle it out, you know, while combat is happening. Similarly, this was my idea, and I wish I had like copyrighted it because it's like one of the best ideas I've ever heard. But they sell these like lock picking kits on Amazon where it's just like a like little game where you have to like figure out how to pick the lock. But like I got one of those and I gave it to my rogue and I said, you have to actually pick the lock to get into the thing. And so he had to sit there and like pick the lock, and he was like, that was the best. I got to actually pick a lock as like a rogue in D&D, and I was like, you're welcome. But then like other ones that I've heard of are just things like, you know, like having somebody like cartography the map. So rather than coming with a pre-made map, let your characters actually like build it and design it as you go, which is, I feel like kind of a ripoff of the Quiet Year, but it's fine. But, you know, just all sorts of different things like that. Or, you know, having somebody like take notes is also a good one. Like there's so many different ways. But yeah, just things that can add to the story, add some character elements, but also like give that actual player something to do outside of just sitting and like being like, boy, I don't have anything to do for 4 rounds of combat, so I guess I'm gonna just stare off into the middle distance.
Pull up the app on my phone of like the waiting game app where I'd sit in the lobby of wherever I am and just play that until they call my name.
Yep.
I don't have one of those at all.
All right, what was your first character?
So my first character was actually not a D&D character. But one of my favorite my first character, and also one of my favorite characters, her name was Solara Fen. And Solara Fen was a Twi'lek, because my first campaign was actually an Edge of the Empire campaign, and Solara Fen and her band of misfits rode around the galaxy. It was very like Firefly kind of feel campaign, but Solara ultimately perished.
No,
she fell off of Cloud City.
No,
she just fell right off of Cloud City. We were running the Jewel of Yavin campaign, and she fell off of Cloud City. Now, she was very briefly, for one glorious moment, resurrected for during the pandemic. I played that Edge of the Empire campaign for almost 7 years with the same group of guys. So it's very close to my heart. But during the pandemic, our old GM surprised us and like brought the gang back together, and it was just like the best thing. And so Solara's kind of a little bit rode off into the sunset. Like she got a little bit of a redemption. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, that was one of my first characters. I loved her so much.
Freaking 7 years.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It was a long time.
How did your group get together? Because I'm sure everyone is dying. Like, how did they stay together for 7 years?
We all just so we were all living in a town. It's called Stanton, Virginia, and it's this tiny little town. But I was there for grad school, and so and honestly, it's not even a good story of how the game got together, because it was a game that I inherited. But the guy that I was dating at the time was like playing with this group of guys, and then somebody else dropped out, and he was like, "Well, can my girlfriend come?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure." But then that guy became my husband, and all of those guys at the table became our wedding party.
Aww.
So yeah, it was pretty sweet. But yeah,
I'm happy that ended in love and not in heartache.
Yeah, I mean, I like the one thing is like when I moved to Atlanta for the job, I had to leave that game behind, and that was like one of the hardest things, because it was like they were like friends, like they're like people, like important people in my life, and so that was really hard. And so like down here, I still don't have like a regular every week game. My husband thankfully does, because that's like his kind of like social lifeline. So he found a game and he's having a great time with it, but I don't have one yet, and so I'm sad. So I play so much online for my job. So, but it's like there's something different about just like sitting around a table people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There
we need to
is.
off somebody in your husband's campaign, and then you get to join in and
Well, the problem
rekindle
is
that.
they've invited me. They invited me to come play, and I did like a test run, and it was one of those like ADHD moments where I had to be really honest and be like, I love you guys. I think you guys are rad. This is not my play style. Like, I'm a dip. Like, thanks for the fun night, but I will not be continuing on. And that was like fine, you know, because it was like and like nobody cared, like nobody's feelings were hurt, but it was just one of those things where it's like it was not because they're not really into like role play, and like that's my whole thing is like I'm so good at that part, like I'm good at like the voices and I'm good at like the character or whatever, but they're just like, let's kill another dragon, and I'm like, that sounds so fun for somebody else.
Where's the build up? Where's the backstory of the dragon?
Where's the dramatic
Where's the monologue?
Exactly. I've become sort of notorious for my dramatic monologue. It's like kind of a problem.
Problem or content?
I was like, I mean, a little bit of both, but like I have this, you know, like how everybody has their like dream like table of players that you want to play with, and like mine is obviously I really want to play with Brennan Lee Mulligan, but like what I don't want to actually play D&D. I just want to get into a dramatic monologue off with Brennan Lee Mulligan, like just us sitting at a table going like, oh yeah, well when I was 10 my father walked into a diner. Like I just think that'd be really fun.
I want this now.
It's just a dramatic monologue.
It'd be amazing.
Brennan Lee Mulligan, if you're listening, I challenge you to a dramatic monologue.
Our fight will be legendary.
It has to be on this podcast. That's the only.
Yeah, that's it.
Just saying.
On
just
this tiny baby podcast in the corners of Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And,
where we lurk and chirp and bring on some cool ass people.
Listen, sometimes I feel like having like a small but like steadfast audience is like way better than having a massive one. Like, and I say that as somebody who has both in different spaces. Like the stalwart fans, like they're the people who get you through. Like, be a small podcast, relish that shit. Relish being a small podcast. Just do it. It's beautiful. There's beauty in that.
That's
it was
baby.
86 years until we got big.
I have their pencils from their first Patreon.
Listen, the reason I do this is just because I'm having fun. I like to meet new people. I like talking to people and just kind of like opening up and talking and just I just want to get out there and talk and you know, I learn a lot from the people who come on to talk about their experiences with D&D as well as like their mechanics and how they joined and like, you know, what kind of space is D&D? And then just like it kind of evolves as like it's not just one type of person, right?
Yeah.
It can cover like a bunch of people. The person who was like reluctantly like that's for nerds and now is playing it on the reg and
yeah,
and just jocks and just nerds and basement dwellers like I used to be. No, I'm just kidding.
Like I am now.
Look, it's not a basement, but it might as well be. This town is barren. There is one D&D game, but I cannot join it because it's a conflict of interest. Damn.
Oh no!
All right.
Because you're my patient, I can't play games with you, my patient.
Oh yeah, that's honestly valid. I get that.
Yeah.
Sorry, my therapist came to my one of the panels that I did about like kink and ADHD, and it was like really funny because she just like walked in, and I was like, "My actual therapist is here, everybody! Like, hey, no pressure to be smart and have things go well. All right, let's go."
Wonderful. Oh, that's gotta be a feeling. It's like you know everything.
It was honestly, I liked it just because like she was like, okay, now she can like contextualize like what I actually do for my job. Because before she was like, so you're a content creator, but you also like go to a convention, but you talk about sex, but also you play D&D. I'm like, yes, all of that is right.
This is like an older individual is just wrapping their brain around the internet kind of thing.
Like, what? Like, it's just she's just a little bit like, you do a lot. I'm like, yeah, but it all kind of makes sense. Like, if you kind of like look at it from far away, it all kind of makes sense together.
Tilt your head, squint your eyes.
It's all communication. How do I communicate with my world?
That's honestly a really good way of putting it.
Bye, Adrian.
Bye, Adrian. All right, Alex, it's just me and you. Let's all right. What's your top 5 favorite things about Adrian? Go.
Adrian is an amazing DM. although he will never tell you that. He, it's just an A right now. He is very steadfast. He is the driving force of this entire podcast. He cares about everybody. Literally everybody. Wants everyone to have a good time. He's definitely like a dad. He's got a solid head of hair. Like
Yes.
whole head, not top and bottom. So like the whole head is really great. And 5, he will persevere through any event. Anything that has been thrown at him, he's been really good at that. So
Well, that was wholesome as all anything. See, Adrian, we made you practice taking compliments on your podcast. Haha, the ultimate betrayal.
Here's my part of receiving compliments. Thank you so much, Alex. I really appreciate everything you said, and also I appreciate what you do. So thank you for those compliments. It still burns at the end.
Have you ever heard the oatmeals, like seen the oatmeals thing about compliments?
No.
Okay,
No.
so you know the oatmeal's like that like web cartoon.
Mhm.
So the guy who writes the oatmeal postulates that if you're a person who is uncomfortable giving compliments, rather than thinking about receiving the compliments, think about it like this. Like rather than being like, oh, it's like for me, you're keeping that compliment and you're saving it to pass on to the next person. So like every time you get a compliment, it's like, hey, now I get to give this like love to like somebody else. And I always thought that was like really nice. And it kind of changed the way that I thought about compliments. Because I used to be like, oh, I'm so, And now I was just like, oh, somebody gave me love. So now I get to put more love out into the world. And I always thought that was really nice.
See, I think the thing that changed my perspective on compliments was that to not accept it is to kind of, in a small way, to say that they're wrong. Which you don't want to say that to your friends. And it is true to their perspective that is true, that you are this person. You know, you might be other things, but to them in that moment, they felt good enough to say that, and to say, to deny it or like, not really. Them kind of like, it feels invalidating to them. And, you know, I don't want that to be, to have that feeling towards them. So it's kind of opened my head to just be like, listen, man, you just got to say yes and nod, okay? You can't keep saying, no, like the whole time. So that's what assisted me to less of a like a praise thing, but more of a validating their perspective thing.
That makes sense. Also, I just dropped my physical toy really loudly. I'm sorry.
There you go. Listen, I just knocked over dice.
This is like the most wholesome D&D podcast I've ever been on. We're just talking about like accepting compliments and loving yourself. I love this.
Listen, we're very loosely a Dungeons. This is how we started as Dungeons and Dragons, and now we just like talk and just we could talk about like, oh, tell me about combat, but we talk about real life too, and that's kind of why we put the degrees part, because one, I was trying to get my degree. I still am. Also,
did you email them?
No, but I also need to email Florida too. So now I got 2 emails.
But hold on, we don't have to go to Florida, because I like you being alive and I like you not falling off the earth. And
my brother lives in Florida. I can go live with him.
Yeah, the person who gave me life also lives in Florida, and
we're not going with that.
Just in one hand, half a dozen in the other, Adrian.
That's not the same. My brother Nick could never give me life. He wouldn't be my brother then.
We live in Texas. He could have absolutely been your brother. And
fucking God, I hate you. What the hell? The solemn nod from Kate.
Very solemn nod.
We talked about a little bit of Dungeons and Dragons. Look.
Yeah, I know. We've checked the box.
Like the bare minimum. Yeah, we can talk about degrees.
Hell yeah.
I personally prefer Celsius to Fahrenheit.
Ooh, I love that. Sorry.
We've descended into madness. Look.
That's all right.
My excuse is that it's the last week of school. That's it. That's all I got. That's somehow I'm carrying on.
Yeah, I don't have any excuses. I'm just I've been yelled at all week, and sometimes it's valid, sometimes it's not. And, I still keep this demeanor no
You
matter
are just
what.
a mirror for people's problems.
Yeah. Some people want to come in, some people don't. And then I get yelled at if they don't. I'm like, it's their choice, man. It's free will. I can't do anything. But no, chaos is fine. I'm fine. Everything is fine. Me saying it a bunch of times does not help that image. All right. Dungeons and Dragons. Well, how about them dungeons? Speaking of dragons, I need to fly away into a good segue.
That was I'm
so
literally
good.
gonna write that. I'm literally gonna tweet that right now. That's the best best thing.
Appreciate it. So how many games so right now you're doing a bunch of like one shots and guest appearance on streams?
Yes. And podcasts and video casts. I think that's just what we call YouTube, but it's
Yeah.
some live shows I've gotten some live shows now as well, which is always fascinating. It's weird doing D&D in front of an audience. Like, you don't think about how different it is, but it's like it's very different. It's a very different style of play.
I would adore for you to talk more about that, because I love listening to live shows, but I know it just sounds like chaos.
Yeah, I mean, so I've done a few. So on our podcast, we have an arm of our podcast called ADHD&D, trademark. And so we started playing D&D, like, honestly, as a joke. Eric had never played, my co-host Eric had never played D&D. And I was like, listen, if we're going to be dating, like, you have to play D&D. And so we had a couple of beers and we just got on TikTok live and we're like, build our characters for us. And so the audience built our characters for us. And then we started playing D&D. And the internet exploded. We were not expecting the response that ADHD&D got, but it was a lot of response. And so then we just got invited to come do a show at a couple of conventions and then a couple more conventions. And so now literally we were actually supposed to do a live show this weekend, but unfortunately we had to cancel because Eric is sick. We were supposed to be at MomoCon in Atlanta. But yeah, so we did that. But then out of that D&D, I started getting invited to other D&D shows. So I've done 2 live shows at Gen Con. I've done a couple of I'm doing one at Dragon Con this year, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, it's so different. It's so different because it's at least for me, it's different. And I want to be very clear. I think a lot of it has to do with theater training, because you're in a room with 100 people. And so it's you have to entertain those 100 people, you know what I mean? And so a lot of times it's you're not necessarily making the choice because it makes sense or because it's what your character would do, but it's hey, wouldn't it be funny if we did this, or wouldn't it be entertaining? And so it becomes less, I think, about trying to play D&D really well, but what it becomes is an exercise in telling a story, and oftentimes collaboratively. For our live show, it's called ADHD&D : the audience is our DM, and it's fundamentally an improv show with D&D thrown in for spice. But we wind up interacting a lot with the audience, and we take suggestions, and then DMs have started showing up to our live shows with things prepped because they know that we take suggestions. And so there was a time we were at, oh gosh, I don't remember the convention we were at, but this guy pulled out papers and he was I was hoping he would call on me. And he had a whole thing prepped, and we were what? And so it's amazing because you get to have these connections with the audience, and you get to see the incredible different ways that people DM, even in these little mini moments. But it's it's really fun. But yeah, it's completely different beast to even just podcast D&Ding, or I think Twitch streaming, because there's still that element of well, they're playing D&D, but if you're at a table in front of an audience, it's this is a show,
Mm-hmm. Making all those characters, do you feel attached to them, or do you just...
God, yes. Yes, I get so emotionally attached to all of my characters.
Gotcha. I was wondering because I've made a couple and I get too attached, so I've resigned myself to just do one for my one shots and just use that guy over and over again.
I think for me it's like it's a theater thing. I really do. It's because I spend a lot of time thinking about like their backstory and like where they come from. And especially because I am like really heavily into role play, I spend a lot of time thinking about like their motivations and like what would they do. And so I get really, really attached. And so it's hard because like, you know, sometimes it's like you build a character for like a one shot. And so it's like, I've tended to stop going like so hard on the backstories for like the one shot characters. Cause I'm just like, nah, like, no. But for some of like my longer run characters, like I don't know what I'm going to do when the game ends. Cause like they're like a part of me, you know, they're a part of who I am and a part of my story of getting to do this as my job. Like without Helvetica, like I would not be talking to you guys, you know? And so that's just like, it's just weird to think about like someday I'm not going to be playing Helvetica anymore. And it's just like, what am I going to do with my time?
There's life after Helvetica.
I know. All of my characters are named after fonts too. That's like my silly thing that I do is every character I've ever played is a font.
Yes.
I do love a niche.
Do you have a Comic Sans?
I have a Proxima Sans. So Proxima Sans is technically like Comic Sans is coming, but Proxima has been introduced. People liked her. People like Proxima.
Do you have a wingding?
I don't have a winged. I was actually thinking about building a wingdings for Gen Con this year because I've been invited back to do another D&D. And we're going to be playing with some of the Dimension 20 crew. And so I was like, I thought it'd be really funny to just like rock up and do like,
hell yeah.
Like, hi, I'm Catieosaurus and I'm playing Wingdings. Hello.
Oh, yes. I love this sneak peek. I really appreciate it.
I also think Wingdings would be a really good like Kenku build.
Yeah. I was thinking like a gnome artificer. I don't know why. I just
with
thought
that voice,
really
of
funny.
course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wingdings.
I dated someone who hated a lateral lisp, and that's what I always did around him. Like, it was then my drive to just make him crazy. Lateral lisp, miss. I just don't know what happened.
I have a question from one of our past, or one of our guests / viewers.
Okay.
It's from Sabrina. Shout out to Sabrina.
Hello, Sabrina.
We love Sabrina.
Yes. Since you have managed to have your platform cover multiple niche genres, kink, D&D, ADHD, is there one you enjoy to explore more? How do you juggle posting the content that brings you joy and content that your audience asks for?
Oh, Sabrina, why you gotta hit me with those hard-hitting questions?
All right, Sabrina, you're canceled. Never again.
No. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. It's hard and it's a lot of work. And I think that's like one of the things that I wish people really understood about being a content creator is I think like you look at, you know, like TikTokers and you go like, oh, it takes them a minute. Like it takes them 15 seconds. Like what's so hard? And it's like, it's not the 15 seconds of the 6, you know, it's the 7 email addresses and the podcast and the Twitch stream and the YouTube and the, you know, and everything all the time, all at once. So it is hard. And I think honestly, like I love that question because for me, it's even harder because I got my start on TikTok. And one of the big issues with TikTok is they niche you. They niche you really hard. And so I got niched into ADHD education, which I love and I'm fine with, but I also like more things than talking about ADHD. But it's like every time I post anything outside of ADHD education content, my numbers tank. And for a really long time, I would take that personally. And I would be like, oh, nobody cares about my cosplay content, or nobody cares about my Dungeons and Dragons content, or nobody cares about my Shakespeare content, or whatever it was that I was talking about that day. And honestly, what I had to start doing, so like I had this idea that, you know, there must be something wrong with the content. There must be something like people don't care. People don't want to hear me talk about this, like whatever. And ultimately, like what I had to start doing was I had to start making the content for me. you know? And so it's like, so now I try and have a balance. Like I try to post at least one educational video a day, but I also don't want my audience to lose sight of the fact that I am a whole ass person with like a lot of interests. And I think especially because I am known as an ADHD content creator, the nearly universal experience of everybody with ADHD is picking up with a hobby and then putting it down 2 weeks later, you know, is getting really into a show for 6 months and then never watching it again, you know, and we define our lives by like, oh, that was the year I was into Harry Potter. That was the year I was into Doctor Who. That was the year that I, you know what I mean?
Why are you attacking me like this right now? I don't appreciate it.
But I think like because of that, like that's why I refuse to stop posting the videos that don't do well. Because it's like, I don't care if TikTok says, you know, hey, you're supposed to be posting on the ADHD hashtag and now you're posting on the D&D hashtag and we're not going to show that video to anybody. But as somebody who is like a moderately public figure, as somebody who tries to be a role model for young people who are struggling with their neurodivergency, I think it's also really important to model that and be like, you are allowed to be into more than one thing. You are allowed to be into 20 things. You're allowed to be into 100 things. You're not a bad person for being interested and being excited. And so even when the algorithm punishes me for being excited and passionate and interested about multiple things, I still look at that and I go, hey, maybe a quarter of my normal audience saw that video, but that's still a lot of people. And maybe one of those people feels less alone. Maybe one of those people is excited to know that somebody out there also is deeply, you know, passionate about Titus Andronicus or whatever it may be. And so like, that's why I never apologize, you know, but like the balancing game is just, you know, you got to make the videos that get the views so people can see your other stuff. But I've stopped taking views a lot less seriously, and I've started just trying to make content that makes me happy. So that's kind of my question. But the rest of it is just never sleeping and being really unhealthy and having no work-life balance and trying to like be better.
Woo! Yeah. It's bad for you, but it kind of feels good, but it's bad for you.
Yeah. Yep.
Why do I keep staying up at 2 a.m. in the morning editing?
It's such a mood. It's such a mood.
Alex shakes, but also, Alex, would you want to edit? Yeah, I'll stay at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Not. Nope, because that's going to be a 2-week fascination for me, and then I'm going to be done. And that's not the quality I want to bring to this partnership.
And I get in a flow state, so when I get into it, I'm like, let's go. And then I'm looking at my watch and I'm like, I got work in the morning in 6 hours. Let's go. It is not good.
You get 2 months of good editing, and then I would be done, because raising tiny humans is a lot. And I love them. And tiny dogs and a full-size human husband. I don't raise him. He raises me.
It's a group effort.
It's everybody. Yeah.
All right. Alex, do you have any theater questions? Or I'm just calling it out right now.
You can. You know what? I was just thinking about that. I was just thinking to myself, like, oh man, I really do miss theater, because I, way back in the day, when I lived in Lubbock, was heavily involved in our community theater, both bringing a man to play on the stage, and both me being on the stage, and then being a huge part of the children's theater, which is, from what I've seen, blooming in Lubbock. And I'm only thinking that I absolutely planted that seed, and that's my fault. So, but how do you do any theater? Do you incorporate that into your life, or has that like stage present taken a back seat to like the stage presence on the D&D?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, since the pandemic kind of put a wrench in things, because before the pandemic, I was regularly working in Atlanta, specifically in classical theater. So I have 2 master's degrees in Shakespeare. One is Shakespeare sort of as literature, and the other is like a master's of it's a master's of fine arts with a specification in Shakespeare and performance. It's too many words.
This is still a safe space for you. Like, I'm still here for it.
It's fine. But so I was doing a lot of Shakespeare and like and every so often I would pick up like a regional theater gig, but I've kind of learned that I'm a homebody. Like I don't like being away from home for like 6 months at a time. So I've only picked up a couple of like like if it's like a really good part, really good gig, then I'll take it. But then otherwise I've kind of just been like, I won't. But I think that like one of the most interesting things about all of this is realizing just like like how much performance has just sort of naturally always been a part of my life, you know, and how it sort of like just very naturally lends itself to doing this kind of work, you know, because it's like, okay, like I've been talking for a second, I need to like step down, I need to like, you know, bring the topic back around. Like, how do I give you something to like ask an interesting question back to, you know? So it's like, I'm kind of always thinking like a performer, just to make sure that like my message is being communicated the most effectively, if that kind of makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that plays to, even if I was listening as somebody at home, of how do your natural talents play into your life? And if you have a love for something, it's going to show up in 1,000 different ways. So I relate to that through education, that I may have the teacher title now and officially have that role in my life, but prior to this moment of being in the school, I've always taught. I've taught swimming lessons, I've taught theater, you know, that teaching role does not stop.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like that is, I love that you talked about teaching at a children's theater, because I used to do that too. I used to teach musical theater at Davenport Children's Theater. It was like that. I loved it. It was so much fun. But I think like for me, like teaching and performance are the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that is because I really wanted to be a teaching artist. Like when I, like that was like my career goal for a really long time, specifically in Shakespeare. But like for me, a good educator is a good performer, because I feel like to be a good educator, to really get your message across, you have to be engaging, you have to be dynamic, you know, like think of every boring math teacher you've ever had, but then think of that one teacher who like made it engaging and like made sense and like made it like speak in a way that you hadn't necessarily like seen it or heard it before. And so I think like there's so much performance in education that it's a really like natural fit for me in a way that I just like, that's why I love doing what I do, because I get to go like, hey, you guys want to like hear something cool about ADHD and then just like talk about it, you know? And that just is like, it's such like a profound gift, I think.
And I like the confidence behind having that teaching and just being like, I know you want to learn about this. I don't care if you're actually telling me that, because that's a teacher thing. Like, I know on some level you don't care about this, but I'm going to show you how great it is in this platform or in this light.
I mean, honest to God, like so when I was in grad school, I was in a touring company and we would tour Shakespeare productions into schools. But like for some reason, it always happened that tour, like the start time of the show would be like 8:30 in the morning.
Oh.
And so like we had this ongoing joke where it's like, you could like, I don't care how successful you are. I don't care how famous you are. I don't care like how many Academy Awards you have, until you have gotten a group of angry teenagers to get invested in the plot of Macbeth at 8:30 in the morning. You are not a real actor. Like, because it's true. It's like, it's about, but like that moment is beautiful. You know, like, and I think about that too, is like, I think about that, like those specific shows, like watching those kids go from like, this is awful and I want to die, to like sitting on the edge of their sheets and like waiting for like, you know, and it's like, it is incredible. It's incredible to get to do that. It's incredible to get to engage people in that way. And so, yeah, it's like, you might not think that you're interested or excited about this, but like, let me tell you why you should care. And that's like one of my favorite things to do in the whole world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Alex, do you have any more questions? We're about to hit the hour mark.
We are. Now that you put me on spot, yeah, I know. I have lots of questions. No, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure, because once again, we're meeting our heroes and they're just as amazing as they seem on the internet. And I think we are very lucky to have real human beings Like,
Aw.
yeah.
Well, thanks. I really appreciate it. I try, I guess. I don't know. It's just kind of winging it. I'm not gonna lie. I have no idea what I'm doing. Somebody
And
please
that's
help.
life. That's life right there.
That's
exactly.
That's it being an adult.
All right. Where can they find you, Kate?
Oh gosh. Okay.
Sorry.
So no, you're fine.
Where can they not find you?
I don't know why. I've been doing this for 2 years. I literally have a marketing team at this point, and they were like, "Can you please learn how to tell them where to find yourself in a way that doesn't make you look like an idiot?" I'm like, "Nope, not today."
It's not just me.
I'm so bad at it. So, okay, here we go. This will be the best one I've ever done. Like I said earlier, I'm Catieosaurus. You can find me on all social medias as Catieosaurus. That's CATIEOSAURUS. I spelled it right. I don't usually do that. I'm on YouTube. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Also, if you're feeling spicy, you can go to mostlypans.com and check out my spicy content. Oh, and I also have a podcast. I knew I was going to blow it. I have a podcast. It's called Katie and Eric's Infinite Quest, an ADHD adventure. We talk about life with ADHD and depression and navigating life as neurodivergent adults. We also play D&D. And if you want to check out some of the D&D projects I've got coming up, like I said earlier, I'm going to be at Gen Con doing a live show. I'm going to be at Dragon Con doing a live show. Also, you can check out Bad Apples that streams every, I believe, Thursday on the World's Guild over on Twitch. I'm just going to stumble over all the words that they need to know to where to find me. And I'm also on the Misfits Guide, which is a new D&D podcast. It's got me, TPK Corso, and that nice Whipjack from TikTok, and we're playing some D&D. So those are all the places, you know.
The internet.
I'm not doing much. It's fine.
Work-life balance.
I have a few more hours that I could spend doing other things.
I'm not totally exhausted to the bone, which means I still have time.
And also, I'm not supposed to tell anybody this, but our pilot just got greenlit. And so now I'm making a show, but I'm not allowed to talk about it yet.
Tell me, when this comes up, let me know so I can delete it, okay?
No, that's okay. You can put that much, just teaser trailer. It'd be like, I can't tell you anything else, but they got greenlight. So, haha.
Save that extra time.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Congratulations on your pilot.
Thanks.
That's super exciting.
I'm freaking out.
Can't wait to see you fly.
It's going to be great. Caw!
And thank you, dear listener, for joining us with another episode of Dungeons and Degrees. You can find us on all social media at Dungeons N, the letter N, Degrees. We also have a Discord, and it's growing, so we would love you to join our small but mighty D&D community. If you said, no, Alex, that's not enough, we also have our Patreon, and we would love you to come join us and support us in growing this small but mighty Patreon community and help Adrian find some reason to edit at 2:30 in the morning.
Alex, how do I do that? How do I join the Patreon?
You go to,
where do I go?
Go to patreon.com, I think, /dungeons and degrees.
You do this part? Don't make me look this up. Hold on. That says creator home. That's not helping me. Also, thank you, Dad, for supporting me.
Yeah, thanks, Adrian's dad. I saw that pop up on my phone. That's fine.
Yes.
Well, it's not even pulling up on my computer. It's been a minute since I've been on Patreon. It's fine. If you search us at Dungeons and Degrees while Adrian...
It's past Dungeons and Daddies, and then all the other Dungeon podcasts, you have to put DEG, and then you'll get us, okay? I promise. I've looked this up before.
That's good.
It's a green and coral logo. That's what you're looking for. It's a beauty. No,
you're
not
right.
green. Teal. Yeah, it's right here. Teal and...
You guys gotta start doing a Patreon song like we do. If you join our Patreon, you get a song.
Oh, we got pencils.
Oh, that's honestly, I feel like that's better. That's better than ours.
Like for each person.
Yeah, so I have my thing. It's the same chords all the time, but it sounds like this. It goes like this. This is the Patreon song. Here, I'll do one for you guys. Hey, Alex and Adrian, thanks for having me on your podcast.
Woo!
It's pretty rad. It wasn't bad. And in the middle, we gave you some compliments, and that kind of made you sad, but it's okay, so thank you. And then it just goes on from there.
No, you got these sweet, because I was like, what's original
God.
merchandise as you throw your
That's
ukulele?
so cool.
Yeah, go have some fun.
That's delightful.
'Cause-
I like that.
Thanks. You would send me drop your chat if you want one. I'll go mail it to you.
You're like, why? How did I spend $10? Oh, I overnighted Catieosaurus a pencil.
Actually, you can send it through regular mail with 2 stamps. It's fine.
Well, that's not bad. That's not bad at all.
And I think the 2 stamps is overkill, but I just like to throw the U.S. Postal Service a little extra.
There you go. Just give them, it's like a little tip, little bonus.
Hey, you like stickers, kid? Yeah, here you go.
Yeah, here you go, kid. I just like to say this is the greatest Patreon ad I've ever heard in my entire. I would join your Patreon. There was a song. There was pencils. There's uncertainty about the address. It's great.
I think that's also rate us whatever stars are the highest on whatever podcasting apps you enjoy, and then share our podcast with everybody who breathes in your family and not family. Just go ahead and share us to everybody, because that's how people find us.
No intimidating threat this time?
You know, I feel like in this time, in this need, in this economy, one episode where I'm not threatening you that if you don't join us or rate us 5 stars or whatever the highest rating is on whatever podcasting app you were on, there's no need for me to tell you that I will come to your house and, break your kneecaps. It's fine.
I
guess I'll sign up for the Patreon. Jesus.
I made Dave do it last time you were here. He's like, something intimidating.
Dave, I feel like would do something intimidating. I'm disappointed.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. My name's Adrian.
And I'm Alec.
And I have been Catieosaurus.
No
Go
more.
have
We
some fun.
Murdered her now.
That's no more. Help. I've been murdered.
Not murdered. No.